Hello everybody and welcome back to Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today we're going to talk about Chapter 4 of the Duskmourn House of Horrors, Don't Give Up. This was, I think, the longest story chapter up to this point, and there is a lot of detail in it. We learned a lot of really good information, so I hope you enjoy this video. Let's dive right into Don't Give Up. Back to the Wanderer, Nico, in winter, following the Wanderer's glimmer. It's leading them somewhere in the hopes of finding Nashi. After they're chasing after the glimmer, they notice that it's able to pass through the rooms without fear and isn't triggering any unwanted attention from the house. While this is good, it also makes it harder for them to keep up with this. Winter becomes more and more agitated by the fact that nothing has come after them yet, leading him to believe that the house has something worse in store for them. After passing through a number of rooms, they move into a large room with a number of mirrors in various states. Winter, the only one running at this point, turns around to see the Wanderer and Nico stuck focusing in on those mirrors. Their prismatic, broken images create these otherworldly effects. Winter, trying to pull them away, ends up seeing a glitch ghost start to come through one of them. Snapping out of it, Nico uses one of her shards to trap the ghost, to Winter's surprise, as these things often only lead to death. Winter had only ever seen people die or go through a lot of trouble to get rid of these, but they eventually always come back. After avoiding that confrontation, they move into a large wooded area, and the glimmer finally settles down onto the Wanderer's shoulders, and all falls silent as the Wanderer points to what's ahead. An unnatural sight ahead of a large fire producing snowflake-like embers rain down. Wicker cages keep rats captive as these beings dance around and gamble. The captors look to be these living wood creatures. These wicker beings have plant-based anatomy and clothing to mimic humans, sprouting flowers for the hair and weaved branches for clothing. Sitting down, staring intensely at these wicker beings, is Nashi. While the Wanderer, Nico, and Winter are watching the scene ahead, one of the rats tries to attack a wicker being walking by. And before any of them could realize what was happening, the wicker being pierced the rat person, and bamboo sprouted out from those piercings, wrapping around them and turning them into a wicker person. And at the horror of this sight, the Wanderer notices 5 additional wicker beings looking very similar, as this once rat and friend has now been turned. Without a second thought, the Wanderer jumped into the middle of these dancing wicker people, trying to cut them down. Swinging around, her blade cuts open the cages, and by the time she can turn around, the Wanderer had become pierced by these wicker beings and bamboo bursting from her body as she transforms like the rat before her. Reaching into her pocket, the Wanderer feels the token that Amanatu has given her. As the Wanderer and Nico look at each other and realize whatever they just both saw had been avoided using this token. Because of Amanatu, the Wanderer still lives and now truly understands how threatening the creatures of Duskmourn can be. After trying to recollect themselves, the Wanderer and Nico realize that these weaker people are now staring them down, and they have no option now but to fight. Nico, throwing one of the shards, releases the glitch ghost from before, and it starts attacking the wicker folk, and uses another one to capture Nashi, embedding the shard deep into a tree. The Wanderer deftly moves over to the cages, opening them up, allowing the other rat folk to take up arms and help them fight. Nico retrieves the shard containing Nashi and is able to use a device from Winter that creates fire to ward off the remaining wicker folk as they run back into the forest. Now out of danger, Nico releases Nashi from the shard, and without a second thought, Nashi tries to tell everyone that he's convinced his mother is there and asks the Wanderer for her help in order to find her. Moving back to Jason Kaido, back to back they stand as they prepare to see a horrible monster erupting from the wall. A monstrous looking sea creature pours out of the wall with ghostly heads pouring out of its mouth. This is a nightmare. No, literally. This nightmare creature starts attacking Kaido as Jace has an idea of how to defeat it. Using his magic, he's able to go through the minds of those heads pouring out of its mouth and disrupt their thoughts, making the nightmare cease to exist. Jace tells Kaido that he's been separated from Vraska and Loot and believes they are somewhere in the house. With that, Kaido and Jace agree to move forward deeper into the basement. Simone and Tyvar, seeming to escape from the beast, are now trying to regroup and figure out where they've ended up. After stopping to catch their breath, another distortion starts, coming from the wall, but this time it's a beautiful elf professor and one of Simone's former teachers. The dean tries to convince Simone to come see her, and that the Phyrexians were able to open her mind to the truths that she could not see before. Simone, wanting to believe this, tries to go to her, and Tyvar stops her, explaining that you watched her die, and that this is just another one of the house's tricks. The Dean, enraged by that, lunges forward at Tyvar, and keeping his guard up but not good enough, an additional hand pops out of the chest of the Dean, cutting open Tyvar and quickly draining the blood from his body as he becomes as cold as the snowy homeland he came from. Reaching into his pocket, Tyvar can feel a stone that Amanatu gave him, and they are now back to that moment with the Dean standing in front of them. Knowing how this situation will play out, Tyvar was able to stop the Dean's hand and absorb whatever material the Dean was made out of. Now, as if having no interest in Tyvar, the Dean turns to Zamon as the two both jump, with Tyvar being able to reach her first. Tyvar was then able to use his magic again to change Zamon's skin also to this pale material. After that, the Dean, simply not interested anymore, walked back over to the wall and was reabsorbed. To Zamon's surprise, Tyvar explains that he figured out that both creatures were made from the house, and so absorbing that material, he's also turned them into the house. Using this newfound safety of the camouflage, they start traveling between the rooms, no longer fearing any threats, in the rooms seemingly staying in place as they travel between them. They enter into a large circular room made of cherry wood with doors placed all over it. Looking at the frames of these doors, Tyvar notices something that looked similar to his homeland, and so does Zamon, realizing these doors may lead back to their home plane. While staring at these doors, thoughts start going through their head of how nice it would be to invite more people into Duskmourn. But before these thoughts can take hold in their head, Tyvar releases the camouflage. Both of them, reeling from that sensation, realize that they can not stay camouflaged too long, or the house will start to control their mind. Using her quick thinking, Zamon suggests that they can hide in other ways, using objects around the house, as Tyvar puts on a vest found around the room, and Zamon holds some books as they continue onward. Heading back to Nashi, Nico and Winter are tailing the group and getting to know each other. Winter reveals that, like everyone else there, they too had come through a door long ago with one of their friends who is no longer with them. Moving to the front, we see the Wanderer and Nashi talking as the Wanderer is trying to connect. Nashi is insistent that his mother must be there. His other companions tell the Wanderer that they've tried to tell him that this is just a trap, but he needed to know, and his grieving wasn't over yet. As Jace and Kaido moved through the room, avoiding more conflicts, the basement seemed to go on endlessly. After seeing a door at the far side of the room, they make with haste as the floor drops out beneath them, and they fall into a pit of stinging gel. A shackle appears from out of nowhere, grabbing onto the ankle of each of them, slowly dragging them down into this gel. Jace can use his telekinesis to hold the gel at bay, while Kaido's drone goes to unlock them. Jace's shackle is unlocked first, and he jumps to a ladder with a hand outstretched to Kaido. But before they can grab each other's hands, Jace looks up and sees Veraska holding loot. Not wasting this opportunity given to him, Jace apologizes and leaves Kaido. Kaido gets dragged deeper and deeper into the gel, and with no choice, decides to planeswalk back to Ravnica and start over. And that is episode 4, Don't Give Up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the summary of this episode. Like I said at the beginning, this was a very long chapter, and I tried to do my best to condense as much information down, but it's still a lot. Please leave a comment down below if you're enjoying this series or just want to say hi. I'd really appreciate it. In addition, if you'd please leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now today's Scryfall card of the day is Kranko's Command. Goblins are eager to follow orders, especially when those orders involve stealing, hunting, annoying, eating, destroying, or swearing. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.